Imagine never paying property taxes again. Well, Trump just came out and said, once again, he wants to abolish property taxes nationwide. Now, as a real estate investor, that sounds like a dream. As a homeowner, that is going to benefit a lot of people, right? But what could that really mean for you, your wallet, your community? And is this actually something that he can do? Well, in today's episode, we're going to break down Trump's plan to end property taxes. Is it genius? Or is it a financial disaster waiting to happen? What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. As always, Matty A. Let's start with what Trump actually said. He's been telling crowds he wants to get rid of property taxes altogether. He's called them a permanent rent that is being paid to the government that we, the people, shouldn't have to pay. Now, it's a powerful pitch. At the end of the day, I think it resonates with pretty much everybody, obviously, that owns a home, invests in homes, or wants to own a home. So it's really relatable on so many fronts. And he goes on and argues that you shouldn't have to keep paying the government, especially after you own your home free and clear and have spent decades paying it down, doing the right things, just to still have a tax burden over your head. And when you think about retirees on fixed incomes who risk losing their houses to tax bills, especially if there's some change in their financial situation, it's an unfortunate and ultimately, in my opinion, an unconstitutional thing to do. Yet, here we are. So let's first take a step back and talk about how property taxes really work. The reality is property taxes aren't federal. Donald Trump is not the one who oversees property taxes, nor does he have the power to dictate what property taxes do. Property taxes are done at a local level. They fund schools, they fund police and fire departments, they fund our roads, our libraries. The list goes on and on. Mainly, these things fund the essentials for the communities in which they are taxed in. For 93% of local governments, on average, property taxes are their single largest revenue source. That money doesn't vanish if you ban the tax. It just creates a major gap that is going to need to be backfilled in some way. It has to come from somewhere else. And so when people are asking, can a president actually do this? That sounds great. Well, the kicker is, a president can't just abolish property taxes with a signature. Those taxes are set at the state and local levels, and we vote on those. Now, the 10th Amendment gives states the power to tax property. To kill property taxes nationwide, you would need a lot of things to happen. One, you would need 50 states to pass new laws or constitutional amendments. You would need a federal constitutional amendment needing at least 38 states to ratify it if we can't do it at the state level. This is a huge legal and political challenge. And so while it sounds great on the surface, there are a lot of semantics, legalities, and ultimately voting that would need to have to happen in order for this to get any kind of traction in any way. So the steps that it would take if theoretically we would play this out, if you really wanted to do this, the process would be there needs to be a massive federal push to rally states, to get education up, and to get people fired up to support this type of narrative. You would need 50 states changing their constitutions or laws, which obviously, as we know, in many states would be a major uphill battle or, to begin, a total non-starter. Or 3, replacing hundreds of billions of dollars in lost revenue, having a real tangible plan, a financial plan that would actually make sense and get people to get excited about is, of course, another thing that would need to be addressed. Let's just take Florida, for example, where you have Ron DeSantis, who's been very outspoken and wanting to move this initiative forward. Eliminating property taxes in the state of Florida leaves, based on this study, a $43 billion hole in funding. So how do they make up for that $43 billion hole, and how does that impact the citizens of the state? Yes, you'd have more money in homeowners' pockets. However, they would likely have to double the sales tax to 12%. They'd have to increase income tax, and they'd have to find ways of making up that tax in other areas of their economy to make up that difference. So this is something that on paper sounds great, but when you think about the pros and cons of what the system is right now, and again, I totally understand and get the argument, versus the alternative, which is what we're proposing, at least many people would like to propose, of abolishing property tax, the idea of not only how that gets done, but then the process of it actually getting executed is extremely challenging. So, of course, people love this idea. No more rent to the government every year. Retirees wouldn't lose their homes over unpaid taxes. Homeowners are going to save thousands of dollars annually, which that money could get dispersed back into the economy, local, state, and nationally in ways that create a big uptick in benefit to the country as a whole. You get a potential boost to property values and disposable income. I mean, it's a powerful promise. Truly owning your home free and clear forever. I like it. It sounds great. That being said, there's a dark side to this. Property taxes fund local essentials. And if you lose that money, you're going to risk massive cuts to schools. You're going to risk massive cuts to police and fire, which is going to lead to layoffs and less public safety. You're going to see crumbling roads and infrastructure. Cities would have to find new revenue or depend on state bailouts, which in general could kill local control over budgets and priorities and force them to get into the hands of leadership that really shouldn't be in local or state level leadership. So thinking about who would, if we could get this done, pay for that big gap, that's the challenge. Higher sales taxes hit everyone, especially renters and lower income families. States might need new income taxes or fees to make up that delta in difference. And you're going to see maybe wealthier homeowners save, but costs shift to the broader population. So it's not no taxes, it's just different taxes. It just is going to be behind the scenes made up in a different way, and that may not be any better than abolishing property taxes altogether. I mean, if you think about previously, do we have any case studies to reflect on? Well, California's Prop 13 is a classic case. It slashed property taxes in the 70s, but schools lost 50% of their funding overnight. The state had to step in, local control shrank, with less autonomy shaping and crafting what they wanted their education system to look like locally, regionally, and at a state level. And we also saw housing costs soared as a result of that. Now in Florida, right, as we said, lawmakers are debating this right now. And even though supporters are trying to push this forward, as we really start to peel back the layers of the onion and look at the financial model, supporters are starting to go, ooh, okay, I didn't think of it that way, right? That's a big trade-off for this and that. So the conversation, while it sounded good and got some national attention, ultimately, I don't think is going to get much more traction beyond this unless we can see something tangible that actually makes sense without it gutting so many other key and critical areas of infrastructure and community support. So, is abolishing property taxes a dream or disaster? Well, technically, it's possible with enormous legal changes and state cooperation, but politically, I would say it's a total long shot. Economically, it's risky. I mean, done carefully, it might make home ownership more secure, but done poorly, it could devastate so many aspects of local and state economies and ultimately lead us right back to where we're at today. So I'm just curious, what do you think? Should America end property taxes for good? Should we pay for schools and police instead? Drop your comments down below. I'm always curious on the thoughts and the narrative because there's always blind spots that I know I'm missing. But I believe that while it sounds good and is a great talking point, the execution and the overall impact probably wouldn't be a net positive based on the way our system and infrastructure is set up now. Having to completely redo that would be such a major overhaul. And there's so many blind spots in that I believe, while again, as a real estate investor and homeowner, I love the idea of it. It sounds good, but with the theory and the probability that it actually ends up being a net positive, still TBD and unlikely that it really is going to have the impact that many hope for and sounds like it would have on the surface. Hopefully you enjoyed this breakdown. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel for more real estate and policy deep dives. Share this with somebody else that's maybe complaining about their property tax bill. Thanks for watching.